Mr. Mohammed,
Hey,
good to meet you again.
pleasure to meet you again, Ernest.
Thanks a lot for making it to the fifth edition Nigeria International Energy Summit.
Thank you.
So far, how's it been?
It's been awesome. I attended the opening ceremony, and again, like I always say, this is the fifth year, but it's always impressive to see the growth year over year. I like the fact that this year we're focused on energy, which is beyond just the petroleum as it had been in the previous sessions. It's been really nice to connect with a much wider audience beyond the petroleum industry, and I look forward to where this can grow into. But it's been a pleasure to be participating in this.
I think that one of the high score points for the Nigeria International Energy Summit
Yep.
was the trade sign off that happened between the NMPC, GE, and the United States Trade Development Agency.
Yep.
A lot of people would really want to know where things are with that contract.
Sure. So if you remember, this was in 2019. I think that agreement was actually the opening for the edition of that year. And what that was tied to the NNPC's AKK Power Project. So it's a project in which General Electric Company, in partnership with CMEC, would be working in collaboration with the NNPC Gas Power Investment Company to develop a 1,350 megawatt power plant in Abuja. So that agreement was the signature agreement for the USTDA grant that was going to be given towards some consulting development of the project. This was the flagship. A lot of those collaborations were made at this very event. And I'm proud to say that as of today, the consulting work is probably about 85% complete. It's been going on in parallel with the AKK pipeline development that most of you are aware of. With regards to the power aspect of it, all the parties that created the SPV are in the process of closing out on a joint development agreement. So everyone is really enthused. It's ironic because it's coming at a time with all the conversations around energy transition. But again, with the partnership that was created at this very event, we've been able to have a head start in developing that project, and we look forward to getting it completed.
Impressive. At this fifth edition, this is the third day, you'll be speaking at the panel. What hadn't existed in the previous editions was that the subject of the PIA was not there. It was a bill at that time, and it's been passed into an act now.
Yep.
And a lot is happening with the industry. The sector is changing and changing pretty fast. What are your expectations, really, and what are the things you think could be a major takeaway for you at this year's conference?
Yeah, no, thanks. I think the passing of the Petroleum Industry Act is something that everyone has been really excited about, and excited because it's taking a very long time. I think some of the benefits that I'm excited about, obviously, is the strengthening of the local sector players in that space. But most importantly also is the focus that it will give on gas. We're in the period right now where we're talking about energy as a transition fuel. And the role of gas is something that is very important because not only is it one of the largest resources that we have, it's a clean source of fuel that we would be able to utilize towards the transition. So what I'm looking forward to in this edition is a lot of clarity, and I think clarity in the messaging, not just from the government, but also from a lot of players on what Nigeria's path towards energy transition will be as we look towards 2060 net zero for the country. So we've talked about having carbon-free economies. How we get there is important. So little things like optimizing our power assets, things like reducing the number of diesel generators that are in our society, things like improving the mix of our renewable energy and ensuring that we have cleaner sources of fuel. All these towards ensuring that we have a more industrialized country. I think these are the things that I'm hoping, clarity of the messaging, clarity of purpose, and in execution, that's what I'm really looking forward to in this edition.
Impressive. GE has been a major player in the energy sector
Yep.
for many, many decades. And in the energy transition movement that we're talking about, really, how readily disposed is GE, and what have you been doing in ensuring that the net zero agenda is achieved?
Yeah, so I think GE is at the forefront of a lot of the conversations on a global level. So I think what we've done internally as a company is a lot of focus on improving the technology that we bring into the market. If you think about it right now, we're all looking at the technologies that burn hydrogen as a fuel. So we're way advanced of the conversations that we're having in the local side. So we're leading the conversation on utilizing hydrogen as a fuel. We're leading the conversation in having more efficient technology. We have H-class turbines right now that burn in the context of over 600 megawatts of fuel. So very clean, very efficient. If we bring it down to the local level, I think it's important to understand that we have, even though we're all having the same goals, we have a different timeline to achieve that goal. And the things that we've been doing in a local level, again, is supporting the broader conversation around optimizing the assets that you have. So if you think about it, GE owns about 80% of the thermal generating capacity in Nigeria. The questions that we're asking is, how can we make them more efficient? How can we optimize it? So a lot of these turbines are simple cycle. Can we convert them to combined cycle? By doing that, we're burning less gas, we're having less emission, and you're able to get improved access to power for a lot of people. We're also doubling down on our support in the renewable energy space. So there's been a lot of focus in the solar panels and the solar industry, but we're also supporting on the hydro. So GE is a big player in hydro turbines. So we're currently refurbishing some turbines in Kainji. We're in active conversations in Zungeru and the rest of the other hydro turbine plants. So these are things that we're doing in the short to medium term. I think if you think about it in the longer term, we're hoping we can bring a lot of the experience and learnings that we've had in those hydrogen conversations, in conversations that have to do with carbon capture, utilization, and storage. And with all of these, we would be able to at least be at par with the conversations that are happening on a global scale.
Impressive, impressive. It's quite commendable what GE is doing in ensuring that that's achieved. But then, I want to really get you to speak from the position of GE.
Yeah.
What you really look forward to achieving in the industry. If you had a minute to speak to the industry, assuming every player is listening now, what would be the position of GE in that subject matter of energy transition?
Yeah, so I think the subject, it's a tricky one because there are many accesses to it, right? So I think if I could summarize it in a nutshell, it'll be stronger collaboration, clear focus around policies and objectives, and partnerships in execution. And I picked those three because first and foremost, we have to all get on the same page with regards to the messaging. We all have to partner to find out how everybody is bringing the best practices and putting your best foot forward, and then go together to achieve what we need to achieve. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for everyone in this space, a lot of opportunity. There are not enough players. You know, we're living in a country of about 200 million people. That less than half of that amount of people have access to basic electricity. If you think about what we need from an industrialization standpoint, there is so much that we can get. So optimizing the assets that we have, getting together to do broader collaborations and partnering to make sure that we can all achieve the goals that we attain, that we hope to attain as a nation, I think would be what I hope to achieve.
Impressive. Mr. Mohammed, thank you so much. But then before you go, what would you say about the organizers of the Nigeria International Energy Summit, Brevity Anderson?
No, so I mean, I've been very vocal about how impressed I have been. This is probably the third or fourth event that I have participated. I probably have missed only one, and it continues to get better every year. You know, again, I mentioned about how I really love the broadening of the subject beyond petroleum into energy. I know it's a tricky subject, but one thing I believe is if we own our narrative, we would be in a better position to be able to shape and get the sorts of things that are applicable for us in this country. So rather than just tying into global goals that everybody is doing, we could do that, but it's important to speak and say it from the narrative of the Nigerian context. And I think Brevity Anderson, in partnership with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, you guys are at the forefront in pulling people together, subject matter experts, ensuring that the messaging is right and ensuring that at least we're able to take things away from all of these sessions. We couldn't ask for more. So again, I'm sure if you ask folks, not too many people went to OTC this year or last year. This is going to be the new hub. You know, it's our narrative, it's our industry, it's our country. We should own it. So I'm really impressed with what's been going on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Mohammed.
much,
We're quite
Ernest.
impressed having you.